This activity is taken from Service Learning and Social Justice textbook, and you can look on different identities, and one of this was used as skin color. If we look on the definition of white critical consciousness, because again, uh, color, in this case, white, allows a number of privileges to occur historically, traditionally, when we look on societies in terms of accessing resources. Um, Social color play a role. The same as when we think about gender, male will have more access to resources. Again, it's not mean that the that each race, which we discussed previously, will have one impact or another, but there is a lot of research will recognize that certain characteristics will be seen as more dominant in society and privilege in current way of seeing our identities, and other characteristics are oppressed. And in this case, our goal is how we can share our privileges to ensure that oppression is minimized and ideally eradicated. So when you look on the stages of consciousness, as we learned, they are very important to understand how we build that care component. Remember when I've shared activity on love, care, and share, in order to build social justice, you need to move towards that critical hope and see what can be done to set things right from a social justice perspective. So metaphor will come from giving a fish where you just looking, oh, okay, I will share some of my resources, but it will not have a long lasting impact because it's mm, usually done in a very limited way, while allowing people to learn how to be successful in sharing resources. That's where the teaching come. That's emerging care. So you allow people to be able to get resources, and that's the teaching piece. And then most important is it's not only individually allow people to get resources, because teaching might work, but if the system do not allow people to realize that capacity, it's still not enough. So emerging care will need to move to developing social justice, make room for everyone to have access to those resources. And that's very challenging from a number of countries because, again, conflicting ideology and beliefs of people. But as a social workers, you believe in this value set, which recognize every person, and social justice is one of the paramount critical values that resources need to be shared for everyone. And that's where you come to make room at the at the river to fish for everyone. So you notice it's require a system change, work in solidarity, do with others. It's moved from for others uh, to the with others, and that's one of the approaches. Uh, and why we are doing this is to um, understand that we live in an oppressive system. If you think about social justice, and we cannot not act. It's important to be reminded that wellness of everyone is interconnected and everyone has responsibility to work together to ensure that wellness for all. And reciprocity in services, it's about interconnectedness, diversity with inclusion. As you notice, you've seen this table. I encourage you, when we think about the identity, and each identity will give us this opportunity. So think about for charity, do not see the color. And that's primarily, again, if you are in position and privilege, you don't see your privilege. It looks okay, which is one of the characteristic of privilege. It's okay for certain groups. It's not okay for others. And that's where you start when you merge in care, you awareness of discrimination based on the skin color. Uh, and feeling this guilt and frustration of not knowing what to do. Um, And the goal is to move to these ideas of how we unlearn internalized racism, but it's also what we can do to support others and to create a new type of society on more inclusive values. So that awareness of self and others. For pandemic social work, it can be done the same with your health status and wearing masks, where people start from idea that it's critical to support people who are elderly and who are immunocompromised. But wearing masks allow us to extend that support for others because masks do not protect us, but protect others from possibility of us being infected. So that creates that emergent care awareness that we can create care by using masks. Ideally, we will want to create environment where people will be aware about challenges. We might to redesign new type of services and accessibility and create a new structural uh, environment to support people who are, for example, nursing care can be redefined, prisons can be redefined, and that's where we're thinking about activities which involves those critical thinking, social justice oriented approach. So hopefully that will help you to understand that every every value will have different degrees if you think about and our goal is to make sure we will be focusing on that highest level of social justice where we move from charity through emergent caring, and it takes time to go to the understanding bigger picture. And in social work, we take a lot of time to uh, learn about critical perspectives and see how profession can help uh, communities and societies to move from that charity, which are seen as emerging in social work profession. It's where it started, and now it's moving into the caring and social justice perspective. And hopefully, we will be able to see uh, to understand root causes of injustice and work for systemic change. It takes time, um, and in this case, it allows more opportunity for everyone to succeed. So look at this table, read the text which I've highlighted, and keep learning, keep expanding your horizons. Think about what actions are required for systemic change for future of social work practice, particularly after pandemic when we've seen a lot of systemic barriers, a lot of challenges people face. They become more visible and more voiced. Can we make an action? That will be a learning and how we move as society to the future of practice. Have a good learning and reflecting piece.